Two trucks having sex. Two trucks having sex. My muscles involuntarily flex. Two trucks having sex. Two trucks having sex. My muscles involuntarily flex. Two pickup trucks making love, American made.
Listen up, Autothoughts and Decepticons. You're listening to Prime Cuts, the history of the Transformers franchise on television, but not in chronological order. I'm one of your hosts, Audrey.
I'm your other host, Nero.
And we are starting Transformers Prime, and it is still really good, and it's my favorite series, and it got me into the franchise, and I'm so elated that it holds up as well as it does.
Yeah, it's a pretty good show. I am comedically underselling, and I also thought it was extremely good.
Yeah, it whips. It whips so much. I have so many lines. The writing is so good.
Yeah.
The writing is way better than a Hub series should have been.
I mean, you could say that for some of their other ones, right? That's
Yeah, I mean My Little Pony, true.
But I mean, I guess I never really heard anything about that G.I. Joe show they had for a while, and that's the only other Hub original that comes to mind.
It's just it has no right. There are some lines. There are some the level of pop culture knowledge that you need to actually get all of the jokes. It's very much older than their target audience should be expected to have.
Was Dan versus a Hub original, or was that a Canadian import?
Well, the Hub is Canadian.
I guess, but it's like a hat. But was it created for the channel, or was it another show that?
I have no idea.
Because
Anyway.
that one's kind of that's the only other Hub original I had to any memories of it all.
The writing is great. The voice acting spectacular. The animation is not in its prime yet. Yeah, the animation has not quite hit its stride, but it's still good to look at. There were no parts of it where I'm just this sucks actually.
No, there's nothing that looks bad. There are some character animations that I was that looks kind of weird.
Yeah, there's something again they're still getting into the groove of it, but there's nothing that makes me go.
Jack's face is a little bit weird looking, but other than that, there's really nothing that I can point to that's you see, this is bad animation.
And there are actually a couple shots that look amazing. Prime, I mean, we can talk about this a little more, but one of my favorite things that Prime does is Prime is 3D animated, but it uses a lot of flat 2D painted backgrounds. It does these particularly in flashbacks. I love the way that Prime does flashbacks, and we'll talk about that a little bit here. But it does it in other places as well, and it actually very successfully merges the two styles, which is an incredible challenge in 2010 technology to do.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about things as we go. Let's go ahead and hop right into this. So the first...
Yeah. We are watching Darkness Rises, parts 1 through 3. This will be different than Armada because there is only the English version. I mean, there are other versions of it, but it wasn't there was a different script or whatever. It wasn't an anime or whatever. So I'm also watching the English version.
If Prime received a gag dub like Beast Wars did in Japan, or if it was more straightforward, I think it might have been.
I think it was straightforward.
I know there's one particular change in a future episode. There's one change that I know about in the Japanese dub, but we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the first 5 episodes, I believed it aired as a week-long event. I don't think this was a single night, but I think it was
Yeah, it was Monday. It was one of the slots on Toonami, or no.
On
what
the
was
hub.
it on?
It was on the hub.
On the hub, right, on the hub. Right, yeah, obviously, duh. It was one of the slots on the, the prime time, the 5 to 7 slots on the hub, Monday through Friday for the week it debuted.
Yeah, so it was just a straight week of Prime. Then I think there was maybe a month break before it came back or something. So we
I don't know how
we kind of start
works.
we just get thrown right in here with a conversation between RC and everyone's favorite Cliffjumper.
Voiced by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Rock is here. He was heavily... I remember this was a time... This is like the first series I was actively in the fandom when it was about to come out. Like, I was a bit too young to participate when Animated and Cybertron were coming out, but this I was there for, and I was posting a lot on cybertron.com with an SEI. So I remember, the marketing of like, yeah, we're going to fucking Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He's going to be voicing one of the main characters. And even then, I remembered everyone in the forums going, this guy's dying in like the first event, right? Like he's going to be dying pretty soon. I think there's no way they're going to pay for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson for a whole show.
And they were correct.
They didn't even pay for him for a whole episode. But yeah, it's just...
You don't think he did the folio work for Cliffjumper's growls?
God, that is almost certainly Frank Welker. You know he loves to make weird creature noises.
He loves being a little sicko guy.
So, I like this story Cliffjumper is telling RC. It's really funny. He's telling her about how he trolled the fuck out of a bunch of New York cops.
Yeah, no, like, we start off with Cliffjumper being like, anyway, A-cab.
Yeah, so he like fucking... yanked a boot off of his tires because they like tried to impound him. Do you think?
And then like drove away, and RC's like, and didn't catch any attention, and Cliffjumper's like, not that you need to know about.
So do you think they definitely have their own like private comms channel, right? Like this is the bro channel.
They all do. I mean, yeah. I think it is heavily implied that RC and Cliffjumper had a romantic relationship.
Oh yes, it certainly is.
So I would say more than a bro channel.
Yeah, there's some things going on in that voice channel that we don't need to know about, and certainly Optimus doesn't need to know about. But anyway, there is
probably does anyway. Ratchet certainly does because he has to keep him safe.
Yep, he's bringing out the bowl of robot condoms. Anyway. So, we learned, we established quite a few things in rapid succession in this little opening conversation RC and Cliffjumper have. First of all, the Autobots are yet again, they're in Armada, they were stationed in fucking Lincoln, Nebraska. Here they're even in the armpit of nowhere. They're in somewhere called fucking Jasper, Nevada. And if for for everyone who has not as much familiarity with the United States, Nevada basically has 2 cities, maybe 3 if you're generous, and nothing else. So they're in a non-Reno, non-Las Vegas city here.
Yeah, what is the third one that you're thinking of?
The fucking capital. I forget what it's even called, but it's not Las Vegas or Reno. Let me see. What the fuck is the capital of Nevada?
Oh, shit. You should know this. You, border with Nevada.
No, we do not. Texas is nowhere near Nevada. There's 4 states in between us and Nevada. Anyway, the capital is something called Carson City. I have no idea what...
fake.
Yeah, exactly. I have no idea what that is. Yeah. So they're in,
By border, I meant that you were in the same region, the American Southwest.
Oh, yeah. We're in the same region.
That's why I didn't mean that you literally bordered them.
So if I bordered them, it would make going to Evo much easier. So, yeah, they're in Jasper, Nevada, a town that probably at maximum has, 30,000 people in it. That's probably generous.
That is extremely generous. Holy shit, Nero. Have you ever been to a suburb, my guy?
Probably more like 10,000.
That still might be very generous.
The problem is that what we see of it is so barren, but I think that's mostly because they couldn't afford that many models. So there's just nobody around.
But it's a suburb, if we're being generous, of Nevada.
Oh, yeah.
I think looking with somewhere between the 5 to 10K range is probably what we're looking at here.
Yeah, so they're in Jasper, Nevada. They are trying to scout for energon deposits. That's what RC and Cliffjumper are doing currently. And the Decepticons have not been seen for a while. Later we get, I think, 3 or 4 years.
Specifically 3 years.
Yeah, and Cliffjumper is basically saying, I kind of miss the Decepticons, man. It's fucking boring out here. We don't have anything to do.
Now, it's important to note that Cliffjumper has a specific character design, which is that he has horns. And he has a catchphrase that goes along with it, which is that if you mess with Cliffjumper, you get the horns.
Yeah.
This will come back later on.
His like vehicle design is really tight. He's like a big fucking Dodge Charger-esque muscle car with some cow horns on the front of it.
Whatever you say about like the like people designs in this, the vehicle designs in Prime are tight as hell.
Oh yeah.
All of them look really good. Even the fucking like red shirts that we'll get to.
Oh, they look great.
Cool as hell.
I think
the red shirts look good as hell.
The Viacons are some of the coolest like goon designs in Transformers. They're definitely like the most stylish generics ever made.
Yeah. They put their whole pussies into designing things that would get killed 10 times an episode.
Yeah. So Cliffjumper finds a big old energon deposit as they're talking, so he decides to go in and investigate, and lo and behold, the Decepticon flagship shows up right over the deposit he was investigating.
Uh-oh.
Whoops.
Oops. Uh-oh. Oops.
The Nemesis is here, and a bunch of a fuck ton of Viacons descend. I'm using the term Viacons. They aren't named until way later, but that's what these fucking purple guys are called.
Yeah, so the Viacons were, as I talked about, they are a Prime invention. They were designed to basically fill out the Decepticon army and make it so that the Decepticon army was sort of like always overpowered over the Autobots throughout the series, which is like a really interesting choice. They are red shirts. They were designed to be disposed of. There's some fun fan lore about them. Specifically, there's a lot of fanon around one particular Viacon that the fandom has named Steve, or ST3-V3.
Yeah, I mean, that's one solution you get, right? Either you have the Armada model of both sides are like 7 people, and neither of them can kill anybody or get anything done. That is also the model that is in Beast Wars. However,
it's in Beast Wars, it's in TFA.
TFA is a little bit different, though, because in that one, the Decepticons are deployed a little bit more strategically in terms of being a threat.
Right, but my point is that they're still like
group.
all... Yeah, it's even like the same as G1, right? Like that you have like these basically like equitable armies of equitably named characters. Prime is really the only series that's like... These guys are like the Whose Line Is It Anyway, where their names are made up and the points don't matter and their lives don't matter.
There is actually one other Transformers series that features overwhelming odds in the forms of endless drone armies that are also called Viacons, and that's Beast Machines. That is where the name comes from. Yeah, the Viacons are the enemy faction in Beast Machines that are these like endless series of drones controlled by a handful of sentient generals. These guys are just drones, but they are also sentient, which also means that all of them, they die.
Feel the pain of death.
Yes,
they feel the pain of death.
And Cliffjumper immediately helps them feel the pain. A few of them feel the pain of death.
Pain of death. Yes. He ends up accidentally, in the course of making them all feel the pain of death, he does accidentally shoot the energon, which sets off an explosive reaction.
Knocking him out.
And I will say, like, again, animation's still getting in its groove. All the, like, special effects, though, look pretty fucking good. The explosions and, like, the fire, like, energon explodes into this, like, bright blue fire. It looks good. It looks good.
During this, we also get, because RC calls for backup, we also get an introduction to, a very short introduction to all of our other Autobot cast members. Optimus, Bumblebee, Bulkhead, and Ratchet, featuring a very rare, some very rare footage of Ratchet's vehicle mode. He is not seen on screen very often in his ambulance mode. Infamously, it's like infamously hard to get good screen caps of him in vehicle mode in this show. But yeah, we get a little bit of intro to everyone. But then Cliffjumper gets dragged up to the Nemesis and brought before the supreme Decepticon commander, Starscream. What's going on here?
So, Starscream in season 1 of Prime is about as competent as you're going to see Starscream being in any series that has come out so far.
Yeah.
Season 1 of Prime Starscream has been leading the Decepticon army for 3 years, successfully avoiding combat, concentrating on, like, bolstering their energon supplies, and, like, doing a lot with literally nothing since Megatron fucked off to space, though we're gonna get there in a minute.
Yeah, because the first thing Cliffjumper does upon being dragged to the bridge is first he spits some blood out, because we gotta establish that this show's got violence in it.
Yeah, this is for kids 12 and up.
And then he says, "Hey, Scream, where's your boss?"
No, he does not. He says, "Scream, this is important because this establishes a very interesting dynamic."
Oh, that's right, he does.
In this series, he says, "Hey, Scream, where's your master?"
Yep. And the Starscream tells him to shut the fuck up. And here, all right, so
there's like a very weird BDSM master thing going on between Starscream and Megatron in this series. It's very strange.
It's weird. But yeah, basically, so Starscream has very little words for this Autobot. He doesn't give a shit. Instead, he literally just kills him. Like
He rips his heart out.
He literally shoves his hand into his chest, and his Starscream's hands are basically talons. They're gigantic, long claws. So he just stabs him in the heart.
He looks like one of those acrylic edits.
Yeah. So I mean, this is not even like this is like sub 5 minutes. I think is Cliffjumper fucking dying. And then Starscream lets his body slump over and just goes, "Clean that up."
And again, this establishes, I cannot emphasize enough how competent Starscream is at the beginning of this series. It's not gonna last.
No.
It's not gonna last. But for him to what I really like about Prime and the beginning of Prime is that the only sort of other franchise I can think of that really ends up with Starscream in charge is the comics, right?
Yeah.
That's the only where he actually gets what he was looking for and gets this leadership that he wants. And in the comics, he's like, "Oh fuck, this sucks actually." But in Prime, you see him surviving. And not even surviving, but thriving. Again, his approach to leading the Decepticons is very different from Megatron because it's much less about conflict. He sees Megatron leave and he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna stop fighting the Autobots and just hide away and make sure that we get all of our basic needs met and not waste resources needlessly battling the Autobots, and maybe we can get off this godforsaken planet someday."
Yep.
But he does it really well, and one of the greatest markers of this, which we will also discuss later in this episode, is the fact that Soundwave trusts him to do it.
Yeah, either he trusts him or he knows that he won't try anything while Soundwave is around, because
either way, Soundwave supports him in his decisions.
Yeah.
Which is a critical thing that you don't see in any other continuity.
At least he doesn't try to stop him. It's really hard to tell what Soundwave is thinking most of the time. Because we'll get to him eventually, because he's sort of an inscrutable guy.
Kind of the point of Soundwave in Prime, but
so
anyway,
the Autobots arrive.
Starscream rules in Prime season 1. That's all I have to say.
I mean, he's good all the way through. It's just that, as with all Starscreams, he begins to buckle under his own ambitions. Yeah. So all the Autobots arrive. RC finds Cliffjumper's horn because he has horns on his head. One of them got shot off.
Horns.
They get the horns, and Ratchet confirms that Cliffjumper's light signal is dead.
Also, Optimus transforms for the first time, and it is such a "you are my dad, boogie woogie woogie woogie" moment.
Yes.
Again, we've talked about this before, but Prime Optimus is the most dad Optimus out there.
So, one thing about Prime that we must emphasize is that this is the first show fully in production after the live action movies were out. Animated was in production before it and had changes reflecting the first movie to make it more successful by, changing around the cast and adding in the Allspark. This is the one where this is after Revenge of the Fallen. This is like, we know that we can go darker and it'll be fine. And so much of this is like very movie-esque. Thankfully, it's not any of the bad parts usually. It's very reflected.
Mostly it's like character design.
Yeah, it's character design. It is reflected in the score, which is very grandiose.
It's so good.
And who did the fucking, I forget who did the OST for. It's not Raymond Dwani. It's someone else. I don't think it's Hans Zimmer either. Anyway, the score.
It's a fucking good score.
And also another character detail that gets carried over. Optimus's penchant for speeches on cliffs at sunset.
Well, that's my dad.
He loves to do it.
Let him talk.
They bury, they make a grave for Cliffjumper. Now we should say RC is very sad about all this. And Optimus has a little speech about like they have to, they've lost one of their number, but they have to keep on fighting in secret for the sake of the humans.
We can't let our emotions about the death of Cliffjumper cloud our judgment. And RC's like, cool, I'm gonna go kill some Decepticons, bye.
Yeah, Prime Optimus is very stoic. He is very, like, measured.
I would say he's stoic, but he is measured. Stoic, I think, is like a colder term than I think.
Sure.
Prime
he's
Optimus.
He's very taciturn.
Yeah, that's fine. He's practical, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, he's, but there's like a warmth to all the things. So RC's like, I'm gonna go kill some Decepticons, and Optimus is like, RC, do you need to see a counselor? And RC's like, nope, I'm good. Goodbye.
Yeah, she just says, I'm gonna go on patrol. I don't need to talk about my feelings. I'm a big girl. I can work through it on my own. No. She can't
also,
really.
There's like some commentary from Ratchet, and what I really love about Ratchet Prime, I finally figured out why I like Ratchet so much in Prime. Specifically, it's because they really dig into the Leonard Bones McCoy.
Oh yeah.
Archetype for him. And Bones is one of my favorite characters in anything ever. So if you ever watch Star Trek and you want to know about like irascible doctors who sort of are like begrudgingly doing their jobs, but like have a secret heart of gold, that's Bones. That's Ratchet.
Yeah, Animated really brought the like grumpy, curmudgeonly old Ratchet to the forefront, because then that was reflected in the IDW comics, and that carried forward into this series of like, he's an old timer, he's Optimus's closest like friend, but
there's such a good line in the 3rd episode about that.
Yes, he doesn't really see much action, and he's very grumpy. But secretly, maybe he cares.
He's less grumpy than TFA.
Yes,
Ratchet.
TFA Ratchet is like a little bit older and like
TFA Ratchet's like Grap.
Yeah, he's like a veteran. He's like a veteran of the Great War,
or like a Cup.
Yeah, he's a little bit more. He's like a Cup-esque figure.
He's
Ratchet,
like a Cup. Yeah.
Prime Ratchet is much more of a Bones, where it's like it's less the age and more of the just sort of causticness of which he goes about his job.
Exactly. Literally, every so often, I think that Ratchet's going to turn to Optimus and go, "He's that Optimus."
He basically does that in the fucking opening here. So we don't have our intro yet. We have the little Transformers Prime title card, and then we cut to Knockout Burger, where we meet our hero,
Jackson Darby, who is, I think, like 15.
I think he's 16. He says he's 16.
Okay, he's 16. Like Miko's 14 and Raph is 12. I think.
Yeah. So my question, I guess I'll save my question for when Raph is introduced. But yeah, we see Jack. He's a teenager working at a shitty burger joint, being tormented by his peers. The usual. This is where we really start to see the budget limitations of this early season, because there's nobody in this burger joint, and we don't see into the other car.
Yeah, that's true. But it is also where we start to see some of, like, in my opinion, the quality of the writing of this series.
Yes.
Because, like, Jack is being tormented, and he's like, yeah, could we get 2 shit burgers with crap fries or whatever? And Jack's like, yeah, 2 not as funny as you think you are. Got it. And it's just, like, it's like, again, it's nothing brilliant, but it's, like, really nice, snappy writing that, like, actually feels like dialogue that would come from a 16-year-old.
Yeah, compared to our last trio of humans, these are way better.
Yeah, it's not a guy going trees, they are us.
Yeah.
Over and over again. So, like, you know, again, nothing, I would not say anything in TFP is particularly brilliant, except maybe the season 2 finale, which, woof, we'll get there though. But the dialogue is just, like, it's on point. Like, none of it is, like, going to win any Emmys or anything.
Although I'm pretty sure the show did win some Emmys.
Probably did.
I believe it won.
Yeah.
It won a few daytime Emmys for the first and second seasons. So,
yeah,
we see Jack, you know, dead end shitty burger job. RC
$5.59 for 2 combos, by the way, which
that's
means that
insane.
I should probably move to Jasper.
Yeah, what the fuck is going on in Jasper? That's crazy. I don't know. Like, those prices suggest Knockout Burgers should be way more full. Anyway, RC is going on patrol. She has a hollow matter avatar rider.
She's a motorcycle, to be clear.
Yes, RC is a motorcycle. So she's the one who really needs to use those, because, you know, all the rest of them get away with tinted windows. She really needs to look like someone is on her. So, but she's getting tailed by Viacons, so she decides she's going to go hide in the Knockout Burger parking lot. Jack calls his mom to say he's heading home. He says the words "cut a rug," which is
he does say the words "cut a rug." She asks if he's going to the school dance, and Jack says absolutely not. If anything, that experience has taught me I should never cut a rug unless I'm reupholstering something.
He's like here's like the chief thing about Jack Darby. The boy is not cool in any sense of, like, he is not a cool teen at all.
It's like, I mean, again, I think this is sort of like par for the course with, like, human sidekicks, but, like, none of them are cool. The closest that gets to it is Miko by a mile, but, like, Miko is very clearly shown as being an outsider.
Yeah, but, like, Jack is very specifically a kind of, like, he's just, like, it's sort of a nothing boy, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but he's just, like, he is the most average teen in the world. He just wants a cool motorcycle, and which he sees a cool motorcycle parked outside his burger joint.
And he's like, I don't know who this is, but I have such vivid fantasies of owning something like this. What if I just sat on it for a little bit and pretended? Like, what if I were naughty? What if I were naughty?
Yeah, so
he goes ahead and does that.
And then 2 girls show up.
And he's talking to RC the entire time,
yes.
And you can just feel, like, the tension in RC's, like, entire struts.
It's like, please leave. Stop being weird. But yeah, these girls show up, including this, I guess, is a girl he has a crush on.
His crush.
Sadie.
Sierra.
So, but they're like, haha, is that
like
your
Sierra
bike?
Nevada.
Haha,
do you get it?
I get it.
Sierra Nevada.
Is that your bike? And he's like, yes.
And they're like, are you talking to your bike? And he's like, no. I mean, yes. I mean, I'm talking to you. I mean, yes, it's my bike.
Yeah, but then the Viacons are closing in from behind them. They just try to run these teenagers down. They don't really give a shit.
Yeah, RC's like, come on, leave.
Specifically, she's like, come on, smooth operator, hurry it up.
I love RC.
RC is fucking great. So,
oh my god, kind of a girl boss show.
She's such a girl boss. So yeah, she just sort of drives off with Jack still astride her vehicle form, being chased by these Viacons.
Yeah, Jack immediately, again, for all of Jack's faults, he is, I would say, the most relatable.
Oh yeah,
teen, like, sidekick.
He is definitely meant to be, like, the guy you project onto.
But he's also successful at it, as opposed to, like, Rad, right?
Yeah.
Who was, like, also supposed to be the person you project on. Or even, you know...
Carlos. Any of the three, but like...
Or like Spike in G1, or, like, any of them, right? Like,
yeah.
Unlike them, he actually is successful because he says immediately, "What is going on? What are you?"
Yeah.
And RC says, "Don't let go." And Jack's like, "Ah."
So Starscream commands the Viacons, kill the Autobot and the human, just to be sure.
The Viacons are like, "Hey, we found RC. There's a human with her." And Starscream's like, "And what about it?"
Okay. Sure.
Kill them. Idiots.
I don't fucking care. Yeah, so
Possible to get good help these days.
RC, like, you know, sort of dips into an alleyway, kicks Jack off, and is like, all right, listen to me, you little shit. You didn't see anything. You need to leave and not tell anyone about them. He's like, yep, you got it. I will not be telling anyone.
Oh, wait, no, this is a later line.
Yeah,
but
because...
The very good line he says.
Yeah, so he runs off. But RC notices that one of the Viacons, like, splits away to chase him, and she just goes, oh, god
Shit,
damn
nope.
it.
All right, she's like, all right, forget what I just said, get back on me.
Yeah.
And Jack's like, okay.
So they get onto the highway, which is important because this becomes a point of contention with someone later. Where they are, like, engaging in like a fucking Fast and Furious car duel of ramming into each other. Bumblebee shows up to give RC some backup. Jack.
There's a really nice line here where Jack's like, "Is that a friend of yours?" And RC's like, "Family." I like it.
It really is the Fast and the Furious.
Yeah.
Family.
No, well, not this episode, but the third episode sure is.
Yeah. So
that's Tokyo Drift. The third episode is Tokyo Drift.
It totally is. So they're doing highway comp. Then we cut to a little boy driving around a radio control car that looks a lot like Bumblebee for some reason.
And he calls his mom, and he says that he is just racing down in the ravine or whatever it is.
He's like, he's underneath the highway in like a fucking sewage drain or something. I don't know.
He's like,
there's nothing to do in Jasper. That's what I'm learning.
Literally nothing to do in Jasper, especially if you're a nerd. Oh. He's just having a good, fun time. He looks like the grandpa from Up if he was de-aged 80 years.
He does!
That's what Raph looks like.
He's got the same face shape and the same, like, big old glasses.
Yeah.
Anyway, a motorcycle, a yellow sports car, and two evil black sports cars smash down in front of him off of the highway.
And again, the Viacons just look so tight.
And then they all turn into robots. And I guess we should just... So the Viacons all have... They're all unique because, you know, obviously... Or no, they're not all unique. They're all the same because that saves budget. They all have, like, red visors with a single little dot where their mouth might be. So they all have the same face. They're all purple and spiky.
So Prime for Decepticons really leans into the purple.
Yeah.
This is for a number of reasons. One is that, like, the Decepticon symbol is purple. When we get to it, Dark Energon is purple. And so everything is sort of, like, designed in Megatron's colors, which are like a deep steel gray and purple. And the Viacons take those same colors as well.
Yeah.
And except for their eyes, which in the Decepticon fashion are red.
Yeah. And, like, you know, we got RC fighting. Well, yeah, so I forgot to mention, Bumblebee doesn't show up immediately. He gets, like, spun out on the highway or something.
Yeah, the Viacon, one of the Viacons. So he's, like, on the highway, he's trying to block the Viacons from getting to RC. So they're, like, moving back and forth between the lanes, and he's blocking their access. And eventually one of them, like, breaks off from the other and gets in front of him while the other one, like, crashes into his rear wheel, which sends him spinning.
He's not here yet. RC is fighting these two Viacons. And, you know, she's, like... Her whole thing is that she is very agile and very, like, precise, but she is also, like, the smallest Autobot by a country mile. So
and
not
also
a lot of power.
the most lightly armored.
Yes. So she is kind of getting her ass kicked here.
She also, like, so she transforms, the Viacon transforms, and, like, this kid, it's Raph. I'm gonna just name him. It's Raph. Raph looks at Jack and goes, what are they? And Jack's like,
it's like they're talking cars.
They're talking cars that turn into robots.
Or the
other way around.
I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
So yeah,
well done. That was like incredibly synchronous.
But yeah, he's like, I don't want to find out. Let's leave.
That right, and that's the point where I was like, that's the most relatable character I've ever seen in a Transformers series. Him saying, "I don't know, and I don't want to know."
So that is when Bumblebee shows up with a mean right hook on one of the Viacons here. And you know, that's one thing is like it's cool that, you know, this like really varies from episode to episode in terms of like what is the threat level of an average Viacon? Like, what is really, how much damage can they do? And I will say, I feel like the gunfire and stuff in this show is certainly not as weightless as it is in Armada. Like, it's got a lot more heft to it in terms of, like, people get shot and they get thrown on their ass. They don't necessarily die, but they definitely, like, feel it. Yeah,
no, it does, like, real harm. The question always, as is, you know, in true red shirt form, can they hit it?
Yeah. And, you know, some of them can, some of them can't. So yeah, actually
that is the thing that varies the most from episode to episode, is can they actually hit it?
So Raph kind of gets the Viacon's attention accidentally, or one of them. And so this is when they run into it like a sewage pipe and get very slowly pursued by this Viacon. They're just like, well, I don't need to move quick. They're all humans. They can't do anything. And
also they have RC and Bumblebee at gunpoint. So
yes. Yeah, that's the other thing. So this guy is just kind of slowly walking up. And then Bumblebee drags him away and saves them real quick. And also this is where we kind of see that Bumblebee, as I mentioned in the Armada wrap-up episode, he speaks in R2-D2 beeps. Where, you know, much like his live-action movie counterpart, he can't talk to enhance his cuteness and marketability.
But Raph can understand him.
Yes. And so eventually they have also called, you know, Bulkhead in for backup. And so they're, you know, Bumblebee and RC square up against the other Viacons again, and then Bulkhead shows up and and transforms and is generally, you know, large. And they flee. The Viacons run away immediately. And later events in episode 3 makes me wonder if they're fleeing in abject terror of Bulkhead, considering the things he does to one of them in episode 3.
Jesus Christ.
You don't fuck with a wrecker. And RC's like, what took you so long? He's like, traffic. So I wanted to let's talk about Bulkhead now, because he's one of the most interesting parts of this cast, right?
Yeah, he is a holdover from TFA, basically. Yes. He doesn't really, I mean, he shows up in G1, he exists, but he's not a major player in any of the other continuities, but he was a major character in TFA, and they're like, people know this from TFA, put Bulkhead in Prime.
Yeah. And, you know, like, it's interesting because obviously his role as the Heavy in the movie is filled by Ironhide. But Ironhide was not a major character in animated nor in this. So what you have instead is Bulkhead. And it's interesting because Bulkhead is one of the characters where you can most see the, like, influence of animated on this art style. Because he still has the big, exaggerated lower jaw and the sort of the general roundness, but it's also just like, you know, he's a little greebled. He's a little bit, you know, live action movied.
Yeah, I mean, again, Bulkhead basically had no prior.
Yeah,
he exists in G1, but like,
I don't even know if there was a. I think the first character there might have been like a minor character named Bulkhead.
But
I think the first like major named character in an appearance was Transformers Energon. Was the first Bulkhead.
No, so Bulkhead that exists in G1. Yeah, he's a like, very, very minor character.
Yeah, but he's basically like he was that name was like rocketed into prominence by animated, and he's been
exactly. All of the other Autobots, Optimus, Ratchet, Bumblebee, RC, and who am I missing?
Cliffjumper.
Well,
the late Cliffjumper.
We'll say Wheeljack. We'll say Wheeljack.
Yeah, there's a few others that show up.
But all of the other Autobots,
and most of the Decepticons as well.
Well, yeah, all the
most of them.
There are a few... Not Knockout got sort of completely reinvented for this.
Yeah.
But you know, all of the other ones, they existed in other continuities beforehand, but Bulkhead was really the one that was revived in any major way in TFA.
Yeah. So,
So of course he's the most influenced by TFA's design.
Yeah. So BNRC report back to Optimus, talking like, well, we got attacked by some Viacons, but we're all right. We found, some humans got involved, and he's like, well, better bring him back to base, or else the Decepticons are probably going to kill him.
And everyone's like, but Optimus, and Optimus is like, freedom is the right of all sentient beings. I will say it 1,000,000 times if I have to.
So here's where I have a question about Raph, because we cut to the next day. It's after school, and Jack finds Raph outside of school. So we kind of learn Raph is like a super genius computer whiz. Yeah. Did he get moved forward a bunch so he is a in high school at 12? Is that what we think is happening here?
No. Here's my assumption. My assumption is that Jasper, Nevada has like 5,000 to 10,000 people in it, and that they probably combined their middle and high school.
Okay, so they have like the classic junior high situation where it's like 6 through 12. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That is my assumption.
Because they also seem to like know each other even prior to their meeting.
Again, it is a town of like 5,000 to 10,000 people. There are maybe 1,000 people across 6 grades in that school.
Yeah, so
1,000 students.
While they're talking, and Jack is like, man, I'm fucking so happy that we don't have to deal with any of that crazy robot shit.
That was wild, huh? That's in the past.
We're on the other end of that. I'll never have to think about it again. And then Raph goes, hey, it's Bumblebee. It's like, fuck. No. Shit.
And Bumblebee's like, beep, 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 get in. And Raph's like, okay, and gets it. And like, Jack's like, have you never heard of stranger danger? What are you doing, Raph?
It's so funny because so they go over and Bumblebee beeps at him, and he's like, oh, he wants me to get in. And Jack's like, wait, one, you can understand him. 2, what about me?
No, well, Jack says he wants us to get in, and Raph's like, no, he wants me to get in. Your ride's over there. And RC's like glaring as hard as a motorcycle can. Yeah,
the fucking JoJo's like ominous thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Also near RC is a young exchange student absentmindedly doodling. She won't be important.
Oh, by the way, Raph's full name is Raph Esquivel.
Yes. So Jack goes over and is like, oh, yeah, this is, you don't need to do this. And she's like, all right, we need to you get on. We're going to have a talk.
We have a great line from Jack here, which is like, I get it. The first rule of Robot Fight Club is you do not talk about Robot Fight Club.
Yep. So they kind of go around the corner. And RC transforms. They're like, all right, listen here, you little shit. I don't like this any more than you do. But Optimus Prime says we need to keep you safe, so you're coming with us back to base. And he's like, I don't know about all that. I got a curfew.
Who is Optimus Prime? Yeah. 2, I don't know about all that.
And then the Japanese girl's like, dude, totally go for it. Because guess what? She saw the whole thing because she noticed the bike was gone.
And we get our first instance of a curse that will be used a lot in Prime. Scrap.
Yeah, scrap. They use scrap a lot. To mean shit and whatnot.
Crap.
And crap, yeah. I guess it is crap.
That's what it's for. It's crap. Yeah.
So
her name is Miko Nakamura.
Yes. And she is. So they all go to the auto base.
And she's a Japanese exchange student.
It's wild that Jasper has an exchange student program. That is interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess my town did too. Now that I think about it, I just never met those exchange students in my house. But
How many people
I also
are
had
in your town, though?
a fairly sizable Dallas suburb.
Yeah, like I said.
Yeah, it's yeah, but like Jasper, it's just so crazy. Yeah, because we see that during her establishing shot, she's like getting a text from her host parents.
And she's like, ignore.
Yep. Yeah, I think this girl might be a little bit of a troublemaker.
Uh-oh.
So they all arrive back at base. Everyone gets introduced. Miko asks Bulkhead 5 bajillion questions.
Raph has a question, which is like, okay, so if you're all robots, then who made you? And Ratchet just scoffs.
Yeah.
And Optimus is like, we don't have time for those existential questions anyway.
Yeah. Also,
who made you? Could you write a concerto? Could you?
Yeah. Like, I'm glad they managed to fit Ratchet's extremely atheism character from IDW into a little bit of his into his prime, in that little tiny like.
I mean, it's kind of the reverse. I know that like IDW was already going in 2010, but barely.
Yeah. I guess actually that stuff only started developing in More Than Meets the Eye, which was I think about a year off from starting.
I think it was 2 years off. I think it was 2012.
Yeah, because Ratchet's character, it had been going for it started in 2005, and, was this all
I don't know
Megatron?
if you can count the Dreamwave stuff.
No, IDW started in 2005. Like, Dreamwave lost the license in 2004, and the very first IDW stuff started, Infiltration.
Thought it was 2006.
Infiltration, I think, like, the first issue came out in 2005, but, like, regardless, it had been going for a little bit, but not in the form we know it in now. Like, very, very few characters heavily featured in that would kind of go forward, except for Ratchet, who would be drastically different. Anyway, Optimus gives them a big old speech about, we are autonomous robotic organisms from the planet Cybertron. You can call us Autobots. Great war. Megatron's bad.
Also,
He's coming
like,
back.
the idea of, like, Autobot coming from autonomous robot life forms is, like, a very cool idea that is introduced in Prime.
It's actually that is basically a quote from the 2007 movie. That part of it anyway, of like, because that's
you can tell how much I pay attention to the Bayverse.
That's word for word what Prime says to Sam when they first meet, basically.
Yeah, well.
So whatever. But he tells them that like I believe Megatron might be returning. It has been a while. He disappeared for years, but I think he might be coming back.
After years of civil war.
Yes, we get this is where we get a little flashback. It's a JPEG from War for Cybertron.
But again, like I really like the way that flashbacks are done. Actually, I like the JPEGs. I like the fact that they do these like 2D, vaguely moving background things for the flashbacks. I think it's actually quite effective. And they're beautifully painted. It's
also interesting that, obviously this show is in the same continuity as the game War for Cybertron. You wouldn't really know it, though. They look very different.
Yeah, all the designs are completely ass backwards, but whatever.
Yeah, it you can't think too hard about the aligned continuity or things get weird.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, their little project didn't really pan out as well as they wanted it to in terms of like consolidating everything into one clear timeline. But yeah,
it would have if they just had a little consistency with their character designs, but they did not.
So we cut back to the Nemesis. This is where we first see Soundwave doing what he does best in Prime, which is standing behind Starscream and reminding him to do something. But not through speech. Well, through someone else's speech.
Yeah. So, Soundwave has a file that's actually not speech this time.
That's true. It was earlier when he earlier when he plays the like. He didn't show up early. He just played RC and Cliff's conversation.
Right. This time,
he's got a little.
He just has a signal that he's playing back on his visor, and Starscream looks at him and goes, "That's from deep space. And we have no idea if that's the actual thing. I don't want to waste resources on a space bridge unless you're sure." And Soundwave just looks at him and nods. And there's a moment where Starscream's like, but then he's like, okay, open the space bridge.
Yep. Soundwave is very convincing by just staring at you.
But I also think, like, this is, like, a really interesting display of both the relationship between Soundwave and Starscream, and also Starscream and Megatron.
Yes.
Right? Because, again, like, Soundwave doesn't, like, particularly threaten Starscream. He's just like, yes, I'm sure, by nodding.
Yep.
And Starscream is like, he has, like, this moment where he's like, what if I just didn't bring Megatron back from deep space? But then he's like, and I think it is implied that it is, I mean, obviously Soundwave has some influence on his decision, but I think it is implied, in my opinion, that he, of his own volition, is like, yeah, okay, let's get Master Megatron back from deep space.
Yeah. He would not do it if Soundwave wasn't looking. Like, I think Soundwave...
I don't know. I disagree with you on that.
I truly think that Prime Soundwave is like, he is sort of this silent reminder left there by Megatron for Starscream of like, hey, don't fuck this up.
I disagree with that, and I think like the next two episodes actually sort of give evidence to my.
I guess I'm thinking about later stuff with Soundwave.
Later on, like... absolutely. But like there is still evidence, a lot of evidence actually early on, and I want to talk about it actually. That like Starscream actually genuinely cares about Megatron in season 1.
Right.
You know, he has, like, conflicting feelings about it because there's still obviously his ambition. That hasn't changed here. But, like, there's genuine care about his well-being. So, you know, the moment that Soundwave says, I'm sure that this is Megatron, Starscream's like, yeah, okay, let's go. Without, like, fighting it at all.
And Megatron flies through the space bridge, which Starscream activates and triumphantly announces his return in his G1 voice, which will not be his voice for the remainder of the show. There's, like, I talked about it, Frank Welker really lowered the register on his Megatron voice for Prime. This one line of dialogue he has in episode 1 is way more G1 Megatron. It's way higher, way raspier. But
it's
in
okay.
It's probably like it was like probably the first thing he did in the booth. And then he was like, what made him a little bit growlier?
So I have some director's notes for myself.
So that brings us right into Darkness Rising Part 2, where Starscream has given Megatron the tour of their biggest energon mines. All right, so I have been, I've been working a lot. We have so much energon, Lord Megatron. It's been fucking crazy. The Autobot, I've been denying so many resources from the Autobots. It's going great.
And so she's like, I have all the energon we need to feed the army I'm sure you were gathering over 3 years where you fucking abandoned us. Also,
Starscream commands the miners to come show Megatron something, and then that's when Megatron, like, walks out of the shadows, is like, you don't give the commands anymore. And this is where we see one of the main aspects of the Starscream and Megatron relationship. Megatron is fucking huge.
Yeah, he's kind of large with it.
He is fucking gigantic. And
so again, Prime is one of the first series to really hammer home the idea of Megatron being a gladiator in his past life. For the entertainment of the masses. The
best way I could describe
buddy
Megatron's visual design in this show is like brutality. He's got, like, we talk about his shark teeth in the Armada episode when we were talking about Prime in general. Like he looks like he could tear you apart and just with that in like 2 seconds, no matter who you are.
He did canonly have a career doing that. Like,
yes.
This is the first. This is like I think this is the first time, actually.
It's always been mentioned off and on, like, oh yeah, he was a gladiator. Like, I'm pretty sure it comes up in animated, but you never see it. Okay. And certainly animated Megatron is so much more of a, like, ideologue of, like, this very verbose, manipulative leader. This Megatron is pure power. Like, no fucking around.
And not only do you, like, hear about his past as a gladiator, you see it quite explicitly as the series progresses. He's just huge.
Yeah, so he's
and also, like, again, to remind everyone, I could wrap my little fairy fingers, the world's smallest hand, around Starscream's waist.
Yeah, Starscream is very, I wouldn't call him spindly, but he is very lithe. He's very lanky.
He is similar to RC in that he is clearly sacrificed a lot of armor for, like, speed.
Yeah, and so yeah, he's like kind of
flexibility.
He's kind of poking Megatron, like, yeah, so was that clearly you've been gathering a massive army to smite Optimus Prime off the face of the earth. And Megatron's just like, we'll get there.
Megatron says, I abandoned the Decepticon army, and I know why! Because I got high! Because I got high! Because I got high!
So he's like, alright, Starscream, you know, I was out in space, and I found some very interesting things. You hear about, you know, Unicron? His blood? I found his blood. And Starscream was like, now
sounds fake, but okay.
Yeah, it's like, now hold on a minute. That is a, like, if you're talking about Dark Energon, that shit's so fucking rare it barely exists. And then Megatron pulls out a big old spike of it. And it's like, yeah, you know, I've been interested in maybe testing its. Well,
Starscream's like, legend says that you can bring back the dead with it, and Megatron's like, yeah, it sure does. Hey, Starscream, want to give it all for the cause?
Yeah, and it's so good.
Like, no, but I do have a corpse on hand.
Yeah, it's so funny. I guess he's just like, are you volunteering to make the ultimate sacrifice? And Starscream's like, oh, you know, I would, but, you know, I just so happen to have a dead Autobot in the freezer. And
I will say, like, again, there are so many moments in Prime as the series progresses where, like, in a way that I really can't remember seeing in any other series, Megatron and Starscream are in complete alignment.
Yeah, like
there are several moments where they're completely not in alignment, where they're very much trying to kill each other. But more than any other series, they have a lot of these moments where they're like, yeah, we have history. I'm your second in command for a reason. You trust me, I trust you, and we're going to burn the Autobots to the ground together. And this is one of those moments where Megatron's like, all right, bring me the corpse. And, like, he smiles, and Starscream smiles, and they're all smiling.
So we're back at Autobase, and Jack is like, you know, this is great. I'm so happy you guys are here stopping the bad robots. Can I go home now? I like to leave. I don't want to be a part of any of this at all.
No, heart emoji.
Yeah, and then Optimus just goes, nope. You gotta stay here. Miko, on the other hand, is like, are you fucking crazy, dude? This is the greatest thing that has ever happened to me. Why do you want to leave? So, and Ratchet is just like, you know, Optimus, I don't like the idea of a bunch of tiny squishable beings running around at foot level. I mean, what if I just accidentally step somewhere and they go squish? They're so delicate.
Optimus says softly, don't.
But while they're arguing, the proximity alarm goes off, and Optimus is like, oh shit, it's Agent Fowler, quick, hide the kids. So this is where we get kind of our one of our other main, like, human characters here, voiced by the great Ernie Hudson. It is Special Agent Fowler, who is the Autobot, like, government liaison. He's like the guy, he's like their, I forget the guy's name in fucking Transformers 2, but he's like the government guy who makes sure they don't, like, do anything crazy.
He's John Cena and Bumblebee.
Yes. Unfortunately, he is here because they have just done something crazy. He's like, all right, Prime, you better have a good fucking explanation for why your boys caused a fucking 40,000 car pileup on the goddamn highway. And he's like, Decepticons are back. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
Moon's haunted.
Yeah. And Fowler's like, well, if the Decepticons are back, maybe I go call the Pentagon in and we solve it ourselves. And Prime's like, that's, that seems like a bad idea. In fact, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, you should do the opposite of whatever that is.
Yeah, and during the scene where everyone is arguing against involving the military, Bulkhead grabs something off the wall to demonstrate, like, we can handle it, we've got the force to do it, and he crushes it in his hand, which is when we get the running gag of Ratchet going, Bulkhead, I needed that.
Ugh, so good.
He says that a lot.
So good. Fowler eventually leaves, but he's like, Prime, sort your shit out before I get the Pentagon to sort your shit out for you. And he leaves, and we get another great line, again, ages 12 and up, from Bulkhead, which is, he's got pretty big bearings for a human.
Big balls on that one, Prime. So yeah, we cut back to the Energon mine, where Megatron is, doing a little bit of light necromancy.
My boy! Look what they've done to my boy!
So he jabs Cliff's corpse right in the chest with the big old spear of Dark Energon. He slurps it right up and returns to life as a mindless, rampaging zombie that immediately tears the nearest Viacons apart. And Starscream is like, oh, great. Yeah, great army you have, Megatron. We can deal with all of the surplus of our own fucking troops, jackass. Yeah,
again, like, Starscream is so grounded, reasonable, and smart in Season 1 of Prime. It's kind of wild to, watch it be like, hey, Lord Megatron, this is your fucking plan? Like, zombies that eat us? And Megatron's like, no, this is just step one of my plan. And Starscream's like, what?
Yeah, he's like, I just wanted to see if it works. And then he fucking bifurcates Cliffjumper and tosses him off the edge of the fucking thing.
Now, the bifurcating Cliffjumper, we're gonna see that again in 8 years.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Because they take this scene straight into the Bumblebee movie.
Yeah, minus the zombification bit.
Minus the zombification, but they keep killing Cliffjumper.
He really became like the guy who dies recently.
He is the guy who dies.
Because he also dies in the fucking Unicron event at the end of IDW. He also fucking eats it.
Yeah, no, they keep killing Cliffjumper.
After not being in the comic for like 5 years, they just kill him. Very funny. Even funnier, Dirge, the guy who is usually known for being the guy who dies, lives that entire time, I think. Great stuff. Good for Dirge. Anyway, as a result of the zombification, Cliffjumper's life signs are back on. And Ratchet at first thinks it's just a glitch because of the shitty human technology they're forced to use.
Because they are using an abandoned missile silo.
Yeah, basically the government gave them an old missile silo to live in. But RC is like, no, we gotta check. We gotta make sure. Like,
if there's even the slightest chance that Cliffjumper is alive, we can't abandon him.
And Optimus agrees. So, they get ready to activate the ground bridge. One of the funniest terms in any Transformers show. It's like a space bridge, but on the ground, as Ratchet explains to the humans. And I love that he is so fucking exasperated when Jack's like, what's a ground bridge? He's like, are you fucking... What are they teaching you in school these days, little boy? Obviously, it's a space bridge, but on the ground, so it's more energy efficient. Duh,
obviously.
So, he stays behind to watch over the kids, which he is not particularly happy about. All the rest of them head into the Energon mine. They're doing a little bit of stealth. They're surveying the situation. They find all of these Viacon miners, and they realize this must be where the Decepticons have been for 3 years. They ambush the Viacon miners. The action is quite good, I will say. RC does twist a guy's head off with her legs. Just to make a note of that.
Kind of hot.
Yeah. God, I wish that were me. So
Don't.
While
Softly don't.
So while they're, all the Autobots are doing a bunch of cool action hero shit, Bulkhead there's a really good like punch he does where like they skip a whole bunch of frames right into a key pose, like it's a fighting game normal. Like he just did his overhead and hit that fucking Viacon. Meanwhile, Ratchet is in fucking misery. Mostly because the fucking computer keeps getting pop-ups.
Yeah, so the computer gets pop-ups, and Raph's like, I could fix that. And Ratchet's like, you are little baby. What could you possibly hope to do? And Raph's like, watch this. And he plugs his laptop into the computer and clears all of the error messages away. And Ratchet looks at him, and always sunny title screen, Ratchet learns to appreciate humans.
I think all of those pop-ups are because Bumblebee kept playing coolmathgames.inc,
Coup Taraz!
So, yeah, Raph's computer abilities are perhaps the most outrageous part of this show. We'll get to it later. We go back to the battle where we get another very infamous line where Optimus transforms into truck mode and just yells, "Maximum overdrive."
And then he does weaponized drifting. This is Tokyo Drift, baby.
He just fucking runs over a bunch of dudes.
But specifically, he drifts into them.
Yes. So, we cut to Megatron, who is, he's
observing his crystals.
Spending some quality time charging his crystals, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. He gets a message from Starscream, and Starscream's like, Master Megatron, the mine is under attack. Great googly moogly, the mine is under attack. And Megatron's like, is Optimus there? And Starscream's like, yes, your weird rival is there.
I love this because he literally, this is verbatim, he goes, Optimus, I need more time to prepare a proper reception for my old friend.
Megatron's like,
oh dear, I'm not ready.
Oh shit, I'm evil and gay, and I haven't prepared for this moment yet.
I need to look presentable.
I haven't seen my ex-boyfriend in so long. Starscream, what do I do? And Starscream's like, don't involve me with your ex-lover. Are you shitting me?
And so he's like, yeah, let's just pull out. And Starscream's like, what? What do you mean pull out? Yeah.
It's like that doesn't prevent pregnancies. And then and he's like, if we do that, the Energon line will be lost. And Megatron's like, blow the fucking mine then. Yeah,
he's like, well, if we do that, all the Autobots to get all this Energon. He's like, blow it up. Fucking we care. We got dark Energon, baby. We don't need that shit. We'll have all the Energon we'll need soon. So we during the battle, RC spots Cliffjumper. He's, lying on the catwalks, and she's like, oh fuck, I gotta go get him. So she parkours up there.
And Cliffjumper goes, growl, snarl, bites and attacks and bites and attacks and bites and attacks.
Yeah, so she finds roughly 50% of Cliffjumper.
More like 33%.
And she's like, all right, buddy, let's get you out of here. Oh my god, you're a zombie. And she kind of like drops him into the Energon mine. This is when Starscream shows up to drop a fucking detonation charge into the Energon.
Yeah, Starscream's like, I would stay, but no.
I would stay, but I don't want to. I want to talk a little bit about Steve. Well, you know what? Let's save Steve Bloom's Starscream for Darkness Rising Part 3, because that's where a lot of his best shit is.
Yeah, but I will say, what we do get here is one of the sexiest and most well-known transformations that Starscream does throughout the entire series, where the mine has this sort of like circular shaft elevator that goes through it, and Starscream drops the detonator into the mine, jumps into the shaft, transforms into it, and then rockets straight up through it. And it looks really good.
Yeah, I'm sure Starscream knows about a lot of shaft tricks. Anyway, so the mine's about to blow up. All of the Autobots, all right, let's, hey Ratchet, open the door. They all flee from the fireball in classic action movie style.
Oh, it should be noted before they go. When Arcee was looking over Cliffjumper, she got a little spit on her hand.
Yes, some dark energon got on her like hand. And Miko is immediately like peppering them with the billing questions. Like, I bet the battle was so cool and epic, and you kill a whole bunch of dudes. Was it awesome? And Arcee's like,
yeah, we ruled, and I'm doing really good. Oh God.
Yeah,
and
she like starts stumbling and dizzy, and she's like, I'm fine, I'm just dizzy. And this is where we get the most concise summary of why people like Transformers. There are three main human characters here, which is, they say in order, that robots who get dizzy, robots with emotions, robots who can die. Because Arcee is talking about Cliffjumper and like the just horribly distraught at seeing what they did. During her dialogue, she's like, it reminded me of those Decepticon experiments during the war. So she's seen some gnarly shit.
We'll get to that in later seasons.
Yeah,
but you can probably blame Shockwave for that.
If anything fucked up happens anywhere, there's a good chance Shockwave is to blame.
You can probably blame Shockwave for that.
In basically any continuity where Shockwave is present. But yeah, so she gets dizzy. Ratchet scoops the goo off her, is like, what is this? You need to go take a shower immediately, Stinky.
Yeah,
go
take a decontamination shower.
Yep.
As she's taking the shower, Optimus is like, okay, I'm glad we all got out of that safely. The humans still super need to be protected.
Yeah,
like,
and
even more now.
And Jack's like, hey, Optimus, I got a question. I got no signal. And he's like, yes, it's perfectly protected from all surveillance. And Jack is like, well, it's a problem, because if I don't show up pretty soon at home, the cops will probably come looking for me. And I love this. Optimus leans in very close and very sternly asks, have you broken a law?
It's so good. And Jack's like, my 10 p.m. curfew. And Optimus is like, human customs. I hadn't thought about that.
Ah, shit. Moms. So
moms who want to fuck me?
We'll get there. So he's like, all right, I can't just let you leave unsupervised. You still might be targeted by the Decepticons. So
yeah, like Bulkhead, you go with Miko. Bumblebee, you go with Raph. Ratchet's like, I'm busy. Arcee. And Arcee's like, oh, I'm still dizzy. So dizzy. And Ratchet's like, you're fine, Arcee. And Arcee's like, I'm going to kill you, Ratchet. And Optimus is like, all right, Arcee, you go with Jack. And she's like, fuck. Yeah,
so they all get assigned their little guardians. And we see Jack driving Arcee home, parking her in the garage. And they have a little conversation about where Arcee's like, all right, listen, I don't think it's any more than you do, but you can't just like try to ignore all this, all right? You got to listen to me. There's a line Jack has here. Oh, it's Arcee going like, I don't care about any of your girl troubles. Talking about the Sierra thing from earlier in the episode.
Well, what Jack says. So they arrive back at his house, and Jack says, "For what it's worth, I'm really sorry about your loss."
Yes,
and
that's right. That's right.
And Arcee's like, "What do you know about loss?" And Jack's like, "I got problems as well. Hot girl problems. We're just like you, except we're hot." And Arcee's like, I don't think your girl problems count. And Jack's like, I have more than girl problems.
No, specifically what Jack says in response is, I think my girl problems started the night I met you.
Yes.
And that is when his mom shows up.
And Arcee's like already transforming. She's like, Decepticons. And Jack's like, no, it's my mom. Stop.
Well, actually, first she pulls out her guns.
No, exactly. She's like ready to go. And Jack's like, that's my mom. Please stop.
So thankfully, Jack's mom, June, does not see the giant robot crouching.
June Darby, love of my life. Creature after my own heart.
So she shows up, and we kind of see. We can't see the garage. We see Jack from over the shoulder with her going like, what is going on here? And he's like, I can explain. But then, she's like, when did you buy this? And we pan back, and of course it is simply Arcee in vehicle form. And he's like, it's used. I saved up for it.
it's not just used, it's really, like, abused, really.
Yeah, it's a real shit. Yeah.
He's necking RC so bad.
He's like, it's a real piece of shit, honestly. Kind of, real ornery.
Yeah, at the very end, basically, like, his mom gives him a whole speech about being responsible or whatever,
Yes.
and Jack responds by saying, like, this is me being responsible, this is me showing you responsibility, and at the very end, June is like, well, you'll take me, and he's like, you know, she's what is meaningful to me or whatever, and June's like, I didn't think you'd be taking girls home so early, and Jack's like, ha 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 ha. Anyway, good night, Mom. And as they go, June's like, well, you'll take me on a ride with her sometime, won't you? And Jack's like, yeah, you know, we'll see. She's temperamental.
Fucking RC just trying to figure out a way to, like, I don't know, burn.
And RC is just, like, subtly adjusting her rear view mirrors
to look
keep
at him.
June and Jack in her periphery.
To glare at Jack. Yeah, it's so fucking funny. But yeah, we kind of get the central conflict between them of, like, Jack is obviously teen boy. He wants to have more independence. June, very protective. Do we ever learn what happened to his dad?
I don't think so. Not by my memory.
In my guess is that, like, he probably died at some point. He died
in the Robot Wars.
He died in the gold rush of what the Jasper had a very late gold rush.
He died in the Fast and Furious race wars.
God. But yeah, like he died at some point in the past, and that's why she's so protective of him, I would imagine. So it's the next morning, and RC is revving her engine to wake Jack up, and he's like, "What the fuck? You need
Jack's
to shut up.
You need to stop. You need to stop. My mom's going to hear you." And RC's like, "Okay, get on. Let's go." And Jack's like, "It's fucking Saturday. It's Saturday." And RC has a great line where he's like, "You can go watch cartoons with Bumblebee back at base." And Jack's like, "Cartoons? I'm 16."
But he's like, fine, whatever. And then she yells after him, and leave a note for your mom. She worries. It's like, aww. Already, RC, that, you know, melting that little icy heart of hers.
And that transitions us into, like, the next scene perfectly, where Starscream is standing behind Megatron saying, like, I am worried that your exposure to Dark Energon might be affecting your judgment.
Lord Megatron, what is the commonality between all of your failed relationships?
It's that cursed Egyptian Energon!
It's that devil blood chunk you have!
Why are you even still using it?
But he's basically like, don't worry, there's no need to fuck around with it. I dealt with Optimus Prime. And Megatron's like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, he didn't die in that fucking explosion, idiot.
But again, so, like, I think you can take his concern over Megatron a few ways, but I do think there is a lace of, like, genuine concern about Megatron's health and well-being.
Yeah, because he's saying a lot of crazy shit right now.
Yeah, where he's like, again, like, this could just be a power grab, but I don't think it is at this stage in Prime. I think at this stage in Prime, it is, like, Starscream being like, Lord Megatron, I'm, like, genuinely, like, I think you should see a counselor, maybe.
Yeah, because...
like, Knockout's just down the way. Like, you could go, we have a doctor. He's not a particularly good one, but, like, we got one.
I was about to say, I would not trust Knockout
with
my
mental
health. Yeah, no.
But,
you know, maybe,
like,
Soundwave, he's a really good listener. Maybe
but,
him.
like, again, like, that sort of aspect of Starscream having any form of genuine concern about Megatron's well-being is so interesting to me.
I think it's multiple things, right? It's, like, partially that, and also partially, this guy's going fucking crazy.
Yeah,
and I don't want to be under the command of some fucking devil sicko.
I mean, obviously there's an element of self-servingness in here. There's always an element of self-servingness when it comes to Starscream. But the fact that, like, there's an element of anything else, of, like, genuine concern, I think is such an interesting choice for Prime. Of basically showing, and again, like, as we go through the series, we see this more and more, but, like, there is real history between Megatron and Starscream in Prime, and their relationship is, like, very complex. And there are parts when it, like, works really well for both of them. And there are parts where it really doesn't. But, like, the idea that there is any genuine affection from either of them towards each other is something that's, like, basically completely absent from any other series.
So Megatron is just like, all right, I figured out what it does to dead sparks. We know that. I'm really curious what'll happen if I use it on a living spark. And Starscream's like,
this is the part where he's like,
no.
don't, no, Megatron, please don't.
And then he stabs himself with the fucking Dark Energon shard and, starts glowing purple and yelling a lot. We'll see what happens then later. For now, we cut back to the lab, where it's actually really cool because, like, it's another very stylish transition because we zoom in on, like, Megatron's little chest plate glowing bright purple, and that fades into Ratchet analyzing Dark Energon's, like, chemical structure, where he's just like, what the fuck is this? This is bad mojo I've got right here. Some of it splashes onto the broken diagnostic tools that Bulkhead destroyed, which, in another influence from the live-action movies, starts to come to life and turn evil. Just like all of the, like, weird Allspark monsters from the end of the first movie and the beginning of the second one. Which brings us right into Darkness Rising Part 3, where we open with just, like, just hanging out, the kids hanging out with their Autobots, just chilling, bonding.
Yeah, I mean, your mileage may vary, depend on what you consider bonding.
Right. Well, so we got RC doing some cool stunts because she's like, I don't know, I thought maybe you'd want your commute to be a little bit more exciting this time, Jack. I thought I'd have a little bit of fun.
Miko has convinced Bulkhead to go up to the top of a cliff.
Yes.
And Bulkhead's like, I am meant to protect you. And Miko's like, look at you. You're a fucking, like, monster truck. Let's fucking go. And Bulkhead's like, yeah, okay, fair enough. and dives off the cliff with her in it. And Raph and Bumblebee are playing racing games.
Bumblebee has a fucking Tesla-style, like, game display in him, I guess.
Yeah, and he's using his wheel as a Wiimote.
Yep. And Raph's like, oh, no fair. You've been driving way more longer than I have, because obviously Bumblebee wins the little race. And we, this is when we cut to Ratchet having a bad time with his lab equipment, which attempts to facehugger him. And, I think this is where I want to talk a little bit about Ratchet as played by beloved character actor Jeffrey Combs, who does just a fantastic job.
Yes. He's
so good. I think he's probably most famous for Reanimator. He plays the main character in that. He's also in Next Generation. Right?
God, he sure does, huh? He sure is Herbert, isn't he?
He sure is. There may or may not be an episode later down the line involving Ratchet becoming obsessed with some green liquid.
Yeah, becoming Herbert, yep.
Uh-huh. So...
pretty good.
Currently...
not as gay. I have to say, Prime's pretty gay. It's not as gay as Reanimator is.
That's true. So, Ratchet is attempting to not be murdered by his own lab equipment. Luckily, Optimus steps in and deals with that quite quickly. Quite swiftly. And Ratchet's like, oh, okay, Optimus, big problem. That's Dark Energon. Which, and Optimus is like, that seems improbable. There's only, or no, it's Optimus versus Dark Energon, right? Because Ratchet's like, I don't know what the fuck this is, and Optimus is like, oh, it's Dark Energon.
Yeah, like, so... Ratchet's like, I have no idea what this shit is, but it sucks. And Optimus is like, I have a bad feeling, and here's what my feeling is. It's Dark Energon.
Yeah, and Ratchet's like, that is such a rare substance, it's basically theoretical. And Optimus is like, yeah, Megatron might have found a lot of it. We should probably figure that out. As they're talking about Dark Energon, we cut to Megatron really just vibing on his devil drugs a little bit. just having a great time monologuing to himself, or rather to his rock.
So he says something in particular here where he's like, so Starscream comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, Megatron, how are you doing?" And Megatron's like, "I feel phenomenal. It's almost like I can hear Unicron's voice." And I just want to point out, Megatron hearing Unicron's voice, which has famously gone very well for him.
Always a good sort of guy to have in your head. Yeah, and so he was like, I can almost hear his voice. And Starscream's like, that's great. I'm so happy for you. I'm gonna go over here.
Yeah, Megatron heads out, and Starscream like talks to Soundwave, and he's like, "Soundwave, listen,
he's like, yeah.
I'm not trying to cast aspersions on your loyalty to Decepticon cause, but I don't know what's going on with Megatron, and it's kind of concerning. And I just think that if we concentrate on like what we're meant to be doing, like eliminating the Autobots, we'll probably be better off." And, like, that's how you know, this is how you know that Starscream is being particularly competent in Season 1, because Soundwave is like, yes, that sounds good.
Yeah, well, it takes a little bit of convincing, because he plays back the clip of Megatron going, like, you know, stay here and await my commands. And by the way, whenever Soundwave echoes someone else, he always gives them, like, a very flat affect, and you can hear the, like, G1 Soundwave voice modulator under it, which is a really cool effect.
Yeah, and in response to this, Starscream's like, "I'm not deaf."
It's like, I know what he said, but I just think perhaps his judgment might be impaired by the fucking devil blood he keeps jamming directly into his veins.
Not into his veins, into his heart.
Yeah.
Specifically, Starscream's like, "Hey, maybe don't put it directly into your spark chamber." Okay, you put it directly into your spark chamber.
Great. Yeah, great. Yeah, he's like, Sandra, he was talking about hearing Unicron's voice in his head. He's fucking losing it. We should really just, you know, he'll calm down once we've defeated the Autobots and we can all go back to normal. Yeah, so this is when Optimus is like, all right, I think I know what Megatron's planning on doing. I think he is going to create a gigantic army of the undead. And Ratchet's is like, well, surely there's no battlefield on Earth that could have the amount of corpses he would need to facilitate that, right, Optimus? And Optimus just looks at him and he goes...
Stares at the camera like he's on The Office.
Right, Optimus? And he's like, we should go investigate it. This is when all of the Autobots roll in with their humans. And Optimus is like, all right, me and Ratchet, we're going out. And Arcee's like, hold on, wait. I volunteer. I would like to go out on a mission with you, please, Optimus.
And Optimus is like, no heart emoji, stay here, you're in charge.
And Arcee, I love this. Arcee's like, but Ratchet, I know, like Ratchet's like old and shitty, and he hasn't seen combat in a while. He's like, my ears still work, you know.
Yes. So Arcee's put in charge, and Miko looks at Bulkhead, and she's like, Bulkhead, why do you, the largest Autobot, simply not eat the other Autobots?
Yeah, she's like, you're the biggest one, shouldn't you be in charge? He's like, I always get passed over. But this is where Optimus is like, you know, Ratchet is basically my most trusted ally. I've been rolling with him for fucking centuries. Like... There's no one I'd rather have my back than Ratchet.
Also, he has a medical degree, and we're about to do devil drugs.
Also, I will need him for corpse reasons. So don't do anything stupid while I'm gone. Bye. So they leave, and immediately Miko breaks out the electric guitar to try to get a band together. Actually, first immediately Arcee leaves. She's like, all right, you know, I'm gonna go out. I'm going on patrol.
And she's like, Bulkhead, you're in charge.
And just leaves.
And immediately, once Miko start making noise, Fowler's like, I have a bone to pick with all of you. It's
so funny, but like, there's an extended bit where Miko is asking everyone what they play, and Raph's like, I got a laptop. She's like, great. You can be like the DJ thing with all the buttons, right? Synths and sound sample. He's like, and Jack's like, I can play a pretty mean tambourine. Which is like...
I love Jack.
And she's just staring.
I love Jack. He's so fucking relatable.
Yeah, and she's just like, okay, well, how don't you just cover yourself in fake blood and like scream instead? That would probably be more productive. Bulkhead your percussion.
But before they can really get going.
Yeah. Oh wait, no, actually, they also took Bumblebee. I forgot that Arcee's like, hey, Bumblebee, let's go. Let's leave.
Right, that's why
Bulkhead.
Bulkhead is left in charge.
Yeah, Bulkhead has to, because Fowler shows up and he hurriedly hides the kids behind his ankle, but Miko still has the guitar, which
The
is
bass.
still plugged in.
It's a bass.
Yeah, it's the bass. Oh, is it a bass?
It's a bass.
It's a bass. Well, it's still plugged into the amp, so it's making noise the whole time that Fowler is talking to Bulkhead. Like, I'm sorry, that fucking... Were you going to tell me there was going to be a gigantic crater in the middle of Nevada like a day ago?
And, like, then it keeps making noise, and, like, eventually Fowler sees the wire leading back to them. It's like, since when are you guys electrical?
Yeah.
And, like, at that point, the jig is up, basically.
Yeah, they all reveal themselves, and Fowler's like, okay, we're done here.
Yeah, Fowler's like, I'm down to airlines, and you're going to jail for 30 years!
It's so funny, because like, he's immediately like, all right, kids, we're going to take you into federal custody, because you should not be around any of this stuff. And Bulkhead's like, no, we can protect them better than you can.
And the kids make it so much worse. They're like, we're interns!
Yes. Jack's like, we're student interns. And Fowler's like,
Yeah,
no.
we'll see about that when I report back to my bosses at the Pentagon. Again, cannot emphasize this enough, the Pentagon.
Yeah, he is going to go to the Pentagon, and he leaves, and Bulkhead's like, I fucking hate that guy. What a dick. This will be important for later.
Yes.
So so Optimus has brought Ratchet to an old battlefield, and he says, so remember in the late stages of the war when when both sides were stashing Energon off world, and Ratchet's like, yeah, that's why there's so many Energon deposits on places like Earth. And Optimus says, well, this planet holds the largest Cybertronian mass grave in the galaxy. And Ratchet says, oh.
Ratchet says, you're shitting me.
He's like, oh no. So we cut away from that for a while. Meanwhile,
and we get back to the Nemesis where
first Fowler is calling into the Pentagon about like, hey, I got some developments to talk about with the Autobots. They're pulling some shit again. Call me as soon as possible. Which Soundwave intercepts and relays to Starscream, who says, oh, Agent Fowler, eh? He knows where the Autobot base is. Get him.
And
so
Soundwave releases. This is the first time we get to see Laserbeak.
Prime Laserbeak is basically just a little drone that can deploy from
But
Soundwave's
I love her,
chest.
and so does Soundwave. And
so
she goes off, and to give you like the scale of Laserbeak, she's about the size of half of a helicopter.
Yeah, Fowler is it looks like a news helicopter basically, but it does have guns strapped to it.
And Laserbeak says, watch me swoosh right in.
Yep. So they have a little dogfight, and honestly, Fowler holds his own pretty well against Laserbeak.
Again,
outmaneuver it.
I have my next note is literally like easily one of the most competent overall human casts in the franchise.
Oh yeah.
Easily.
Yeah, I mean, Fowler eventually gets a little bit goofy later on, but like I think he still holds his own quite a bit.
And again, like as a total like human cast, there's no one who's particularly like, I can't stand you. And everyone actually like contributes in real ways in almost more, I would say more than almost any other franchise, any other series in the franchise.
I think Miko has a few moments of being a bit much, but honestly, that's like, she's excitable. She's
and I mean, and that's playing to the like, the 12-year-olds that they're targeting. Yeah,
like she's the one who is super excited and jazzed about being in the middle of a giant robot civil war, who perhaps will learn later on that war is bad and not fun.
Well, cool robot.
Exactly. She is absolutely in cool robot mode, while Jack is immediately like, this is all fucked, and I don't want to be a part of it. Yeah, so Fowler gets shot down, but before he does, he sends a distress signal to the auto base, which Bulkhead sees, and he goes, oh well.
Yeah.
Not my problem.
Yeah, well, he does try, like, he gives, like, the most cursory, like, attempt to trace the signal, but it, like, pans out before he can trace it, and he's like, oh well, and Jack's like, oh well? Seriously? And Bulkhead says,
funny.
like, yeah, he's a jerk.
It's so funny. Yeah, he's immediately like, well, I can't find him. Position isn't exact. Oh well. So Raph,
And Jack's
where...
like, maybe reconsider that?
Yeah.
He works with the Pentagon?
He works with the Pentagon. He knows where your base is, and if they capture him, he might tell the Decepticons where your base is. And Bulkhead's like,
beans.
Good point. But I can't get a lock on a signal. And Raph's like, don't worry, I can hack into the Pentagon's computers.
Yeah.
Huh?
Miko's like, you can hack? Aren't you like 8?
It's like 12.
Raph's like, I'm 12.
So he says that every federal agent is chipped like a dog. You saw it on TV. So he uses that. He hacks.
This is how you know it's a Canadian production. They never would have gone away with this in the United States.
For sure. Like, I have to say it again. Raph, age 12, hacks into the Pentagon's personnel files to get Fowler's RFID signal.
Yep.
Breaks right in. Fucking alright. So
we can't even talk about that too long right now because we cut over to Decepticons.
That's not even the craziest thing he does during the show.
Yeah, no. We'll get back to Raph, but we cut over to Decepticons, and all we can talk about now is thighs.
Yep. So so Starscream welcomes Fowler into his torture dungeon, which he has. There's lots of chains all over the place, and yeah, we get lots of
the weird BDSM shit with Starscream does not stop in the show.
There's so much of it. And he's just like, hello, Agent
Why
Fowler,
do you have these? Shut up.
Hello, Agent Fowler. Welcome to the Nemesis. I have lots of toys to use. And he was like, what is... All right. And Fowler's just making some fucking quips. Also,
Fowler's like, your hip to waist ratio makes you look like a bottom.
He basically does say that. He's like, I listen, I may not know too much about your operation, but I know you ain't calling the shots around here, boy. I know who your top is, and he ain't here right now. Actually, it's even funnier. The thing he specifically says is, I'd like to speak to the manager.
Yeah.
Starts, I am the manager. So yeah, but like one funny thing that Fowler has, his character quirk, is that he has a lot of exclamations involving very patriotic things. When he's being chased by Laserbeak, he goes, Uncle Sam's beard! And later he tells Starscream to eat his Star-Spangled Shorts.
I am, so convinced that when Brian Fuller was creating Hannibal, that he looked at Fowler and he's like, get Lawrence Fishburne to do this in real life, and that's how he created Jack Lawrence.
Oh, for sure. I feel like Fowler could very easily be a Lawrence Fishburne character. He even has
He absolutely is a Lawrence Fishburne character. Don't even talk to me about it. I know he's not voiced by Lawrence Fishburne, but he is in spirit.
He kind of even looks a little bit like him in the face. He's got a very big chin. So Fowler's, getting tortured. Bulkhead deploys on the ground bridge, and he puts Jack in charge.
Well, Fowler has not been tortured yet.
No, he's on the way to be tortured.
We will get to his torture.
Yes. So, but Bulkhead leaves, he puts Jack in charge, and Jack's like, all right, guys. And then he turns around, and Miko's gone. Whoops.
Yeah. They arrive on the other side of the ground bridge, and Bulkhead's like, all right. He sees the Nemesis, and he sees all the Viacons, around it.
He's like, oh, fuck.
He's like, not great. And he's trying to figure out a plan, and suddenly he hears on the side, so what's the plan? And he looks to the side, and Miko's there, and he's like, fuck me running.
It's like, oh no! And of course, she immediately, she's yelling, and she immediately catches some Viacons' attention, who wander over there.
Yeah, she has a great line where she's like, oh, unwise.
Yeah, yes. Unwise. What a good line. She made the wise posting tweet. That was her.
Yeah.
So, Bulkhead immediately leads into action. Yeah, Bulkhead immediately leads into action on this Viacon, right? Beating the shit out of him, very brutal hand-to-hand combat. This is a great moment.
Yeah, so, he says, Miko, look away. And Miko does not look away. And he's like, Miko, turn your eyes away. She does not look away. And he does not have any time to tell her it again before he reaches into this Beacon's chest and rips its lip beating heart out.
Yeah, like, and because, it's so funny because, like, obviously she just sees a bunch of fucking wires or she doesn't care. It's a robot.
Yeah.
To him, this is the most fucked up thing.
Miko, like, instead of turning away, Miko's been watching this with big wide eyes, and it, like, zooms in on her, and she goes, this rules.
Yeah, like, he just, like, and you see the whole thing, he just reaches in there and just tears a lump of wires and fucking parts out of his chest.
Yeah.
And, I think that's the reason they ran away in episode 1. They were like, oh no, it's this guy. This guy's real fucked up.
Listen, you don't mess with the Wreckers.
He's like a road buster. He's just constantly doing the most fucked up shit imaginable. The Wreckers, you know.
Yeah.
Say what you will about them, they do a lot of war crimes. Anyway.
We get back to the Decepticons again. Starscream is rapidly progressing towards torture. To actual torture.
First we have the ground bridge of the Magi. So Jack is like,
oh yeah.
oh, we gotta go get her, right? And Raph's like, yeah, we probably gotta go get her. So they activate the ground bridge.
Well, no, Jack's like, Raph, you're in charge.
Yes.
Raph does not say anything else to Raph. He goes like, Raph, you're in charge. And Raph's like, in charge of who?
In charge of who, me?
Yeah, and like they activate, and Jack activates the space bridge, and he's like, the ground bridge. He's like, okay, here I go. And Raph shows up right behind him, and he's like, fuck it, like let's just go. And the two of them start walking off together. And as they walk through the ground bridge, there's a comm from RC being like, base, come in.
Yeah. So what happens is that Bulkhead calls RC and B while they're on patrol, and she's like, oh hey Bulkhead, what's up?
Oh yeah.
What we only hear one side of this conversation. She's like, what do you mean you ran into no, he's like, what do you mean you ran into trouble? It's just 3 kids. And then there's a pause, and she screeches to a halt, and she's like, what? You're where?
She's where?
And then she just peels right off. And she calls in, Jack, I need you to open the fucking ground bridge right now.
But he is already walking through with Raph, and they miss each other. So it goes back to RC and Bumblebee, and RC's like, metal to the pedal.
Yep. So this is where we get torture time.
Yeah.
We've got Fowler chained up, hanging from the ceiling. And
he's having a laugh, mate, at Starscream's expense. And Starscream's like, okay, I'm literally going to beat you to death.
Yeah, so there's a hard-ass line he has where he's like, Agent Fowler, I have one simple request that will save your family the pain of grieving.
Oh, it's so good. And again, Steve Bloom's voice work on this is phenomenal.
Yeah, like,
as you would expect.
There has never been a Starscream in this lower register. Like, there's a sliding scale of Starscreams, right? On one end, you have Chris Latta Starscream, just the screechiest, most fucking over-the-top Starscream you can imagine.
Tom Kenny's probably, like, right in the middle.
Tom Kenny is, like, I think Armada Starscream is, like, in the middle, where he's, like, he's got a very raspy quality to his English voice, at least. But it's not screechy, and he's much more, like, restrained. Tom Kenny is, like, he is playing a more
Latta
grounded version of Latta's Starscream, where his is much more, like, egotistical and grandiose, with these
what if
moments of
SpongeBob
screeching.
was smug?
Yeah. Then, on the way other end, there is Prime Starscream, because you have Steve Bloom is in a higher register than usual. He is sort of he has moments where he snivels, as a Starscream is wont to do.
But there's only so high a base can get.
Yeah.
And he is a base.
Very just like Megatron, Starscream is very growly in this show.
Yeah.
And he's especially growly when he turns to the Viacons and says, "Get the prod."
Yeah.
So he gets an Energon prod, and he's like, I've always wondered what raw Energon would do upon being brought into contact with a human nervous system. Probably nothing good. And then just starts electrocuting the shit out of Fowler.
Yeah, like, it is very explicit torture.
Fowler is playing the Metal Gear Solid 1 torture minigame right
Yeah.
now. Then we finally cut back to Optimus and Ratchet, who have arrived in a big old canyon, and guess who's there? It's Megatron.
And Megatron has a great line here when he sees the two of them, where he's like, Optimus, my old friend, so good to see you. I see you brought your watchdog with you.
Yeah.
And I love that Ratchet's murder ambulance reputation precedes him.
Yes, Megatron knows all about Ratchet. And this pose Megatron takes is so good, where he's like, he puts his foot up on a rock and leans on his knee and is like, hey, how's it going, Optimus? What's going on?
Hey,
so
baby.
Optimus is just getting ready to fight, and
You
Megatron's
don't need
like,
her.
yeah, and Megatron's like, I'm so excited to finally be able to reveal to you the power of Dark Energon. And he casts Mass Raise Dead as he throws a spike of Dark Energon to the ground, and a fucking billion robot zombies start clambering out of it. And that's where we end. Oh, and he can control them now because he's infused with Dark Energon. That's the big thing.
Do you want to push the questions to next week?
We went so long.
Given how long we've gone.
Yeah.
I think
so. Yeah,
we
will finish up our Darkness Rising questions.
The good news is that it's all the same 5-part series that we're going to be talking about, so it's still relevant.
Yes. So don't you worry, everyone. We will answer all questions you may have next week once we finish up the first little arc of this. We're almost at 2 hours here, so let's go ahead and
we're
wrap
very
things
excited
up.
about Transformers Prime.
It turns
At least
out,
I am.
It turns out this show has a lot more to talk about than Armada ever did.
Yeah, it's here's the thing about Prime. It's a really fucking good series.
There's a lot of stuff going on under the hood, and that will only continue to rise in quality as we go on.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's us. We've been Prime Cuts. You can find us on Twitter at Prime Cuts Pod and join our Discord. Hey, I screened the fucking Transformers the movie.
We co-hosted.
The server watched Transformers the movie 1986 last weekend, and we all had a great time. That's a great movie. We also played a little bit of Jackbox after it, where we coined the term Starscream. So if you're interested in things like that, you should join the Discord.
I am.
Join the fucking Discord. I'm on Twitter at Dragon Smoocher, and you can find various other things that I am on in various other places, like Disney Minus, where I am dragged through the muck of the mouse. Latest episode, almost a 3-hour podcast about fucking Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and still we didn't talk about everything. There's just so much to that movie. Great movie. Next episode is on something it's on a fucking decom about a blind kid who gets into wrestling? I don't fucking know, man. RNG, it just gave it to us. That's at Disney Minus Pod. And I'm also on a Final Fantasy XIV companion podcast with my good pal Jane. That is at Heidelin Radio, Radio Free Heidelin. We will be beginning our playthrough of the game proper very soon. I've already played through the first 10 levels of Realm Reborn, and we're ready to talk about the game, so get hyped for that. I'll also probably be releasing our Endwalker post-mortem that we recorded back in January after we had both finished Endwalker on the feed there this week. So if you want to hear us cry for 2 hours, you can do that. And of course, you can check out our past podcast, She-Ra Show, at Podcast Power on Twitter. Good show, good podcast.
I am Audrey. If you do want to join our Discord, by the way, you can find the link to that in the URL section of our Twitter, which you can find at PrimeCutsPod. Or you can find it in the description of all of our episodes, which you can find on Noisepace.xyz, which is a network we are part of. We're very happy to be a part of it. You can find other great shows on Noisepace, like Zero and Digimon Ghost Gaze and Kamurocho Radio. lot of good stuff there. Give it a listen. You can find me personally at Optimum and Prime on Tumblr and Twitter. That's my funny robot internet joke. You can also listen to the other podcast I do, which is Pot of Greed, which you can find on at Pot of Greed Cast on Twitter, also on Noisepace. It's about Yu-Gi-Oh! If you're into Yu-Gi-Oh! The game, and even if you aren't very into Yu-Gi-Oh! The game, but just kind of want to play it, we've just opened our annual tournament, Cup of Greed, which will be starting which will be the weekend of June 3rd through 5th. I actually have a viable deck this year, which is very exciting because I'm not very good at this game, but I beat someone who is very good at this game in a test run earlier today, so that's very exciting. And even if you're not interested, you should go and give us a listen. It's a celebration of Yugi Muto's birthday, which is June 4th. So, yeah, I think that is it. So, until next time, I am going to sit down because I'm still dizzy. Transform and roll out.
I am going to lurk over the shoulder of my commanding officer, and my blank visage will remind him of his own sins. And I'll just sort of stand there. I'm not going to transform. I'm just going to hang out there.
Not yet, at least. All right.
Nope.
Peach.
Peach.